Hey everyone. Well, we have some big news today. Microsoft's Activision, well, I got that wrong. Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard has been approved by the EU's regulatory agency. So let's talk about that right now. Hey everyone, welcome back to BRAP. I was kind of on the fence whether or not I wanted to do this video, but I didn't want to put this video off until, or this topic off until Wednesday's night show, which goes live at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So check out this Wednesday's BRAP. And because frankly, I've gotten to a point where I'm kind of over this deal, this merger, for a couple of reasons. One, the conversation around this deal has just been terrible by the folks in the Twitter community, not by everyone in the Twitter community. There have been some really good dialogue conversation around this from people who aren't emotionally invested in all things Microsoft and Xbox. For example, there was a YouTuber who had a conversation with AI, and AI told him that AI feels that this is a good deal and it's good for consumers. It's good for gaming. And I just can't believe someone actually took the time to ask AI whether or not this deal is a good deal. Weird, in my opinion. But anyhow, before I read the article here, I do want to give everyone a big shout out in the live chat. Thank you so much, everyone, for stopping by and hanging out for this impromptu BRAP video, live BRAP, not a video per se, but a live stream, I should say, for this impromptu live stream. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Hit that like button if you're new, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you're alerted when we go live. All right, so Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard has been approved by the EU regulatory agency, and the EU found that Microsoft would have no incentive to refuse to distribute Activision's games to Sony, and that even if Microsoft did decide to withdraw Activision's game from PlayStation, this would not significantly harm competition in the consoles market. But EU regulators, much like the UK, did find the acquisition could harm competition around the distribution of PC and console games through cloud gaming services. So it's kind of interesting that they. So one thing I want to mention here is obviously the CMA and the EU have come to different conclusions here. They have made those conclusions or arrived to those conclusions based on different mitigating factors, basically what's in their territory or their country's best interest. And you're going to see probably the same thing happen here in the US with the FTC. And while I think this is a big win for Microsoft, considering the CMA blocking the acquisition of Activision there in the UK, and I do think that's going to be an uphill battle for Microsoft to overcome or to appeal. This is a big win for Microsoft. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't think this means that this deal is is guaranteed to go through. I think there's another hurdle here with the FTC, but I will say this. I do think at some point, I've said this before on this show, I do think this deal eventually goes through with concessions being made. Excuse me, with the concessions being made. And maybe the CMA, assuming there's concessions made with the FTC eventually approves this deal. Maybe Microsoft then goes back to the CMA at some point at a later date, because we know the FTC hearing is until August of this year. I'm thinking that maybe Microsoft then comes back to the CMA and says, hey, wait a minute. Look, here are the remedies, the concessions we made with both the FTC, the EU's approved the deal, the FTC's now approved, assuming the FTC approves. But I'm saying I think that this could happen where the FTC is satisfied with some of the remedies or concessions that Microsoft will make over acquiring Activision Blizzard. Then that deal goes through, and then Microsoft can go back to CMA and say, look, your two other regulatory agencies, the big ones that matter, have approved this deal based on these concessions. We're willing to make these same kind of concessions and agreements in the UK, and maybe then the deal goes through in the UK. But we'll see. Again, that's just kind of my opinion, what I'm thinking might happen, but we'll see. One of the other things that the European Commission said that they identified remedies to allow for the deal to go through or to go ahead through 10-year licensing deals that Microsoft has offered to competitors. We've heard a lot about these 10-year licensing deals that Microsoft has offered to Nintendo and to other cloud providers. And so they mentioned that here. These include a free license to consumers in EU countries that would allow them to stream via any cloud game streaming services of their choice. If you think about the GeForce Now platform, when NVIDIA has and all current and future Activision Blizzard PC console games that they have a license for, cloud providers will also be offered a free license to stream these games in EU markets. So that is the European Commission saying that, hey, based on these remedies, these 10-year licensing deals that Microsoft has offered competitors, these include a free license to consumers, and the EU basically allowing, hey, if you buy a copy of Call of Duty, you can, and you own that license, you can stream on any cloud service provider of your choice, whether it's Activision, whether it's Boosteroid, wherever you want to go with that copy of cloud that you bought, you can stream it on that service. And they're also saying again that cloud providers will also be offered free license to stream these games in EU markets. Now, what I'm not, and I've had some back and forth with Game Logic about this. I'm interpreting this as, so for example, Luna being a cloud provider could have Call of Duty on their storefront and offer it to their subscribers without having a license, without having to purchase a license from Microsoft to have that content on Luna. But it may not be that. It could be that, because I can't imagine that. Here's where I'm going back and forth. I can't imagine that Microsoft is going to offer Call of Duty for free on, let's say, Luna or another cloud provider. What I'm wondering is because typically how this works is if you were to buy Call of Duty, you would have a license, but then you would also require a license to be able to stream that game, let's say on NVIDIA's streaming solution. And so you pay you pay access to NVIDIA as well in the form of licensing fee. So I'm wondering, so that's kind of where I'm not so sure if that means that that these streaming providers, these cloud providers aren't going to have to pay for a free license. That's where I just don't see a situation or scenario where Microsoft's saying, okay, we're just going to give this free to Amazon Luna. We're going to give this free to any other cloud service provider. I'm not sure that's the case, but hopefully we get, or at least hopefully I get a little more clarification on this. And if anyone in the live chat has read anything else, any articles that kind of clarify that, please send me the link. You can drop the link in the live chat, or you can DM me on Twitter. If you're not following me on Twitter, it's BRAP_podcast. Feel free to DM me. But that's what I was thinking about. Initially, that was my initial reaction was, okay, this means that Microsoft is not going to be charging a licensing fee to other cloud providers, but I'm not so sure that's the case necessarily, but we'll see. Like Darkseid says, we have to pay the licensing, still nothing free. The Ryan Lander says it's on again, it's off again, it's on again, it's off again, it's on again. I'm lost. Where are we? Ryan, that is, yeah. And we still have the FTC coming up. But look, either way, it's still a big win for Microsoft. This was a big hurdle for them to clear, although I don't think that this is necessarily mean that's a slam dunk. This deal goes through still, because they still have to go through the FTC. They still have to try to appeal to the CMA. But But look, again, big win. It's a big win for them. I think the EU come back and said, we're not approving this, that may have been something that could have been insurmountable for Microsoft to overcome in terms of trying to get this deal to go through. All right, so the EU also tweeted out something on Twitter today. They said the EU Commission clears acquisition of Activision Blizzard by Microsoft. They actually give this a little. You can see it here. They give a little like diagram here. That shows you, I guess, how this thing is supposed to work. So you see Microsoft, Activision Blizzard games, no access to Blizzard's games, remedies, free license, access to all Activision games for cloud gaming streaming providers and users, creates opportunities for innovation, prevents barriers to competitors. Again, I like, again, my initial reaction was the free licenses to cloud streamers like Luna, but I don't know if that's the case. So we'll see. But and then also the CMA actually, I'm going to pull this up here because the CMA actually did reply. Here's the CMA's response to the EU approving this deal. The CMA says, our response to the European Commission. Our response to the European Commission announcement today on Microsoft Activision. The UK, US, and European competition authorities are unanimous that this merger would harm competition in cloud gaming. The CMA conclude that cloud gaming needs to continue as a free competitive market to drive innovation and choice in this rapidly evolving sector. Microsoft's proposals, I said proposals, didn't I? Can't read. Microsoft's proposals accepted by the European Commission today would allow Microsoft to set the terms and conditions for this market for the next 10 years. I agree with that. The CMA is right there. They are setting the terms and conditions based on these deals that they made with these providers and with companies like Nintendo. They would replace a free, open, and competitive market with one subject to ongoing regulation of the games Microsoft sells, the platforms to which it sells them, and conditions of sale. This is one of the reasons the CMA's independent panel group rejected Microsoft's proposals and prevented this deal. While we recognize and respect that the European Commission is entitled to take a different view, the CMA stands by decision. So CMA is basically doubled down and say, hey, look, are basically restating why they made the decision they made, and that they're standing by their decision or not, despite of what the EU is doing. And they're right. The EU is entitled to take a different view, as the FTC is, as is the CMA. And I really, it's really disheartening, by the way, to see some of the commentary towards the CMA. I've heard people on Twitter refer to the CMA as children, and look, these are professionals. And what's disingenuous is that some of this criticism is coming from people who are professionals themselves. And it's, to me, it's like, why? It's perfectly fine not to agree with the CMA, but look, and someone's gonna say, "Oh, well, BRAP, you call people children on Twitter." Well, yeah, I do, because they act like children and they're not professionals by any stretch of the imagination, based on how they behave on Twitter. But anyhow, that's a whole nother conversation. So that was what the CMA tweeted shortly after the announcement by the EU Commission to allow this deal to go through. So that's where we are today. That is where we stand. August is around the corner, and we'll get an idea where the FTC lands with this in August. So this thing's still not over. Worrywart says, I had a chat with a head of lettuce today, and it said the deal would be great for everyone. Worry, look, the lettuce is spot on. You never doubt the lettuce. Never doubt the lettuce. You never want to do that. You just never want to do that. I mean, why would you ever doubt lettuce, right? Why would you ever doubt lettuce? I mean, that's just silly, right? That's just silly to doubt lettuce. Rylan says, Rylan says, I could see Microsoft really want to keep most properties as third party, but I don't think they can handle managing studios. Yeah, right. I think there's just definitely some issues with some of those, with being able to manage their production pipeline. I just don't think they can do it at the scale that they are managing right now. I think if they had less studios, it'd probably be a different story. I just don't think they have the staff in place to manage the amount of studios they have at scale. So, all right. So here's where I kind of stand with this deal. By the way, and this is why I can't wait for it to for this deal to be over. So I just don't care about this deal. I just don't. To me, this deal doesn't really move the needle for Microsoft. And I say that because I'm playing right now. I'm playing on my Nintendo Switch, and we're going to talk about the whole 30 FPS thing, the more fanatical side of the Xbox fan base comparing Redfall to the Nintendo Switch and trying to have an aha moment about 30 FPS. So we're gonna talk about that on Wednesday night because that's yeah. I'll say this. This deal doesn't move the needle for me. It doesn't do anything that gets me excited for the Xbox ecosystem. Sure, is it a great value add to Game Pass? Yes, it is. I will probably still not resubscribe to Game Pass, even with Call of Duty, because again, my ROI on Game Pass as it stands today is in the negative. Adding Call of Duty to that is not going to change unless Microsoft starts releasing more quality first party AAA experiences in Game Pass at a regular base and within at a regular cadence. That's not happening right now, and that is why I sold my Xbox Series X. That is why I haven't renewed my Game Pass subscription, and why I turn off the auto renew feature on it. I still have some time left on my Game Pass subscription, but my intent, unless Microsoft starts delivering and my ROI improves, is I'm just going to let it expire because I just don't need it. And throwing Call of Duty into Game Pass isn't going to move the needle for me. It's a $70 game that I can just pay out of pocket. You know, paying getting one game in Game Pass for $180 a year that retails at $70 just doesn't make sense to me. As for me personally. Denell Brown with the $5 super chat. Thank you, Donnell. Says you better stop. Them Xbox dudes are going to attack you. I am playing my Nintendo Switch too. Oh, so Alex Bowles says, "Hold this." So, Alex, you're. I mean, look, man. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm hoping you're not an adult, Alex, because your behavior, if you're an adult, is pretty sad. It's yeah, it's pretty sad. You're in here saying, "Hold this L." I mean, we're talking about video games here. I think the only person that's probably holding an L is you, and that's in what matters most, and that's called being a productive adult and living life. Yeah, I really feel sorry. I feel bad for you, Alex, that you come in here and that's the kind of behavior you exhibit. But hey, I guess more power to you. I don't know. I mean, yeah. Oh, good for you, Alex. I'm sure that makes you feel good about yourself, buddy. Pat yourself on the back, man, that you came into a podcast and you said, hold this L, and you put salt shaker emojis up in the live chat. Hey, good for you, man. Real winner. Look, so it doesn't move the needle for me. And Phil Spencer's interview with the XCast, which I said this last week. I'm like, it was, to me, it was an odd interview because I go back to this, a 11 out of 10 game isn't going to cause people to go to the store, trade in their PlayStation 5s for an Xbox Series X. That's not the point, Phil. The point is to create some chatter about your platform, to create interest, to get people who may own a PlayStation 5 and haven't either ever been in the Xbox ecosystem to finally go get into the Xbox ecosystem, and to go out and buy or maybe go out and buy a Series S or Series X, or maybe they used to be in the Xbox ecosystem and they come back now because you're releasing these quality AAA experiences. I'm playing not Breath of the Wild. I'm playing The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm playing it on the Nintendo Switch, and it's just great experience. This game is going to be in the conversation for Game of the Year. It is just a phenomenal experience. Great puzzles, great open world, the ability to customize and create and craft different weapons and vehicles to traverse. I mean, it is I can't stop playing this game. This sort of reminds me of Elden Ring last year. So, like, I don't care about this deal. I want to see Microsoft, because they have some really talented studios. And again, I said this on the show many times. My bar for Microsoft is based on the bar they set for themselves during the Xbox 360 generation and the original Xbox, where they were really creating some amazing content. Content that was critically acclaimed, that was in conversation for Game of the Year. Those are the kinds of things I want to see them do again. I want to see them create those experiences, those unique, those great experiences. And so I see Alex is at it again. All right, Alex. So what we're not going to do is we're not going to have you come in here and do salt emojis because you don't want to behave as an adult. So we're just going to remove you from the channel. But I appreciate the engagement. So Alex Bowles has been sent to the ether. Nobody will be able to see his commentary because he wanted to come in and act like a baby, and we're not going to do that. Like, if you want to have a conversation using, talking about your individual use case, instead of using like salt emojis, that is fair. I will talk about your individual use case, my individual use case, but we're not going to come in here and act like a child and be like, oh, hold L's, man. There's plenty of other channels you can do that. This isn't one of them. We're not going to do that. If you look, and I'll say this, if you like Xbox, that's awesome. I'm not going to tell anybody that they're wrong for enjoying their Xbox platform. If they do, that's awesome. Anyhow, so I want to see them create these unique experiences, these games really take advantage of the Xbox hardware, specifically the Xbox Series X, and games that move the industry. I mean, we talk about Halo and what Halo did to the gaming industry. So that's why this deal doesn't move the needle for me. And that's why I'm kind of over it. Because I want to see them create these experiences that are critically acclaimed, that are in the conversation for Game of the Year, that make me put down my controller and say, wow, what an experience. I haven't had that feeling with Xbox in a long time. Don't get me wrong, they've made some good games. They just haven't made great games, and I want to see great games. Especially if I'm going to be locked into a subscription service for $180 a year. I want great games. Good games are nice. Those should be the icing on the cake. Those shouldn't be the cake, though. And so for me, this deal just doesn't resonate because it doesn't do any of those things. Call of Duty isn't a great game. Well, Call of Duty is a very good shooter, but it's not a great game. It's not going to be in the conversation for game of the year. Again, it's not to take. I'm not to take anything away from Call of Duty. It's a really good shooter. Yeah, Nate says. Yeah, I told someone who replied to me on Twitter, I'm enjoying what Xbox has offered, and I told him, good for you. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, all right. So that's just my quick rant this afternoon. So, hey, big win for Microsoft today. Big hurdle, or they've overcome a big hurdle here with the EU. But I don't think this deal is necessarily slam dunk just yet. They still have to go through the FTC. But again, like I said earlier, I do think at some point this deal will get through with concessions made. So, but look, everyone, we'll be back this Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So please check out BRAP on Wednesday night. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, hit the bell notifications so you're alerted when we go live. I really appreciate everyone coming out, hanging out with me this afternoon for this very impromptu BRAP live stream. I wasn't planning on doing a live stream, but I kind of don't want to talk about this on Wednesday night because I really want to talk about Tears of the Kingdom because it's an amazing game. Seriously, it's probably the best game. And I've played 4 or 5 hours so far. The 4 or 5 hours I played, it's probably one of the best games I played this generation, this year easily. So, but we'll talk about Tears of the Kingdom this Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern time as well as some other gaming related topics. So thank you, everyone. Please hit that like button. Again, if you're new, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you're alerted when we go live. And then if you want to give me a follow on the Twitters, BRAP_podcast on Twitter. And remember to tune in this Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time for our regularly scheduled BRAP. Thank you, everyone. We'll catch you Wednesday.